fake, delusional, and disingenuous. He stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is going to be the third installment of the Sexless Marriage show that I've been doing here. And I'm going to go through a couple of other articles that I found regarding women's feelings about, sex after they've been married, before they've been married, and you'll see that they tend to feel like, and this is not all of them, but some of them tend to feel like sex is a chore. It's something that they shouldn't have to do. So we as men sometimes find ourselves in a situation where we're in a relationship where sex is more important to us than it is to them, but they still tend to feel like we should just stick around and, hang out with them and do all kinds of, social things with them and not get any sex from them. We shouldn't even be driven by sex. It's almost looked upon as if it's some kind of juvenile obsession with us. And you'll frequently hear them, refer to men as being like little boys and, begging, for sex and, always trying to use these belittling, tactics to try to make you feel less than because you want to have sex with them, So let's look at this, and I'm not gonna drag it out here. Let's see. Start out with. I don't think I want to start out with that one. How about we start out with this one? And this article is by Next Tribe, and it was from February 17th, 2022, and the question is, our answer queen responds, help, I don't want to have sex with my husband. A woman married 40 years asks if she still needs to perform wifely duties. That's crazy, is it not? Okay, let's start out with that one. Here we go.
Our answer queen responds, help, I don't want to have sex with my husband. Editor's note, as we mark our 5th anniversary, we went back to look at our most read stories since we launched in February 2017. This story came in second, with 383,000 readers. Our answer queen, Kathy Hanauer, offers a smart, compassionate contemplation of the role of sex within a marriage and what spouses should and shouldn't be willing to do for each other. Yesterday, we published the 3rd most read story. Tomorrow, we'll publish the 1st. Stay tuned. Dear Answer Queen, I've been married for 40 years. I love my husband, but when it comes to sex, he has been, and still is, a 14-year-old boy. At first I was a willing participant, but after years of his moping, cajoling, screaming, and disrespect, I lost interest. We went to therapy, but that didn't help. Finally, several years ago, I decided to keep the relationship and family intact by agreeing to sex once a week. I had no family support, no money, a lack of self-esteem, and young children. But I'm now 60, with some physical issues starting to crop up. And I absolutely dread date night. The thing is, other than sex, I love spending time with my husband. We get along well and enjoy each other's company. But on this one thing we cannot agree. If I bring it up, he immediately says that if we don't have sex, we should divorce. He does not take testosterone or engage in porn, he just wants sex with me. All the time. Do I continue to close my eyes and endure the 30 minutes once a week to enjoy the other 99% of my life? Signed. So over it. Read more, when one wants sex and the other doesn't. How this couple saved a lessless marriage. Dear Swa. As the joke goes, if you put a penny in a jar for every time you have sex before you get married and remove a penny for every time after, you'll never run out of pennies. Or recall the famous lines from the movie Annie Hall. The therapists ask both halves of a couple how often they have sex. He says, hardly ever, maybe 3 times a week. She says, constantly. I'd say 3 times a week. And then there's the wellish known, if controversial, concept of lesbian bed death, the idea that long-term lesbian couples have the least sex of any type of couple, ostensibly because women have less sexual desire than men. The point is, sexual disparity in a couple is common, and usually, though not always, it's the man who wants more. And a once-a-week, scheduled sex agreement post-marriage and kids isn't unusual or wrong. Especially when he wants it constantly and she feels constantly pressured. Read about this arrangement here, originally from my book The Bitch Is Back and reprinted in Next Tribe. But that practice might apply more widely to younger couples. A survey reported in AARP a few years ago showed that of 8,000 people aged 50 or older, a full third in relationships reported rarely or never having sex. Another almost third, 28%, said they do it only a couple of times a month, and 8% once a month. Only 31% of these couples said they have sex several times a week. Also, interestingly, even among the couples who said they were extremely happy, a quarter of them rarely or never had sex. That's a hefty chunk of midlifers contentedly watching Netflix in their flannels and face cream, right? Who knew? If you put a penny in a jar for every time you have sex before you get married and remove a penny for every time after, you'll never run out of pennies. Actually, a lot of us. Many of the otherwise loving 50-plus couples I know, the few who have managed to stay together for decades, that is, don't have tons of sex, and even among those who do, it can be problematic. One friend, early 50s, who had a decent married sex life for 20-plus years, told me recently that perimenopause had quashed her desire. A 60-something friend described sex with her husband as not quite as bad as root canal. Huh? Okay, though, not that funny. The point is, keeping your sex life healthy or, frankly, keeping one at all in a very long-term marriage, is actually not particularly natural. And it's not just women who need help, either, with our needs for lube, hormone creams, a clean fridge, and the perfect number of glasses of wine beforehand. How many hundred ads have you seen lately for Cialis and Viagra? Still, supposedly, sex is, still, good for us. It supposedly strengthens our vaginal walls. Supposedly burns lots of calories, really? Maybe in our 20s, when we were into stuff like reverse cowgirl. But, and supposedly releases oxytocin, a hormone that makes us feel bonded. I say supposedly because, as no doctor, I can tell you only what I hear, read, and experience myself. Also, weekly sex supposedly increases a couple's happiness, though sex more than once a week apparently doesn't further increase the joy factor. Again, though, that's likely true only if both people in the couple enjoy, or at least don't hate, the sex, if not right away, then soon into starting. Which brings us to you, Swa. Read more, what the media gets right, and wrong. About later in life sex. No sex equals divorce? I'll be honest, your husband sounds like a real piece of work. He'll leave you if you don't have sex with him once a week, rain or shine, discomfort or not. He won't even talk about this without bringing up divorce. There's a big, very big part of me that wants to say, kiss this asshole goodbye. Or better yet, save the kiss for someone who cares one speck about your feelings. Yes, he has needs. But so do you. And feeling like you have no control over sex, even in your marriage, is not okay. He might not be physically forcing you, but to me it's not unlike rape if you don't have the choice to say no. But you love the guy otherwise, and you also like your life with the benefits that come with being married. I get it. And while he probably actually wouldn't divorce you if you said a hard no once in a while, He would likely make you miserable, as implied by your comment about his whining, screaming, and disrespect. Fun. The only solution here is to talk to this man. But don't spring it on him like insert sexual metaphor here. Tell him you need to have a conversation about something important to you, and set up a time. When that time comes, put on some makeup, or whatever. At least get out of sweats, pour you each a drink, and approach him with a smile. Then tell him you love him and your life with him, but you need to discuss your sex life. If he wants to keep doing it, he has to understand your needs, too, because sex is about two people. Not just him. Reiterate that you love him and want to stay married. But you need to find other ways to satisfy his desires without you feeling trapped, uncomfortable, and unhappy.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there for a minute. I don't know if you guys caught this, but I'm kind of feeling like this Twa lady or Swa who's giving the advice here, she's not taking into consideration his feelings about this. She's taking this wife's side, and she is selectively not paying attention to the fact that she says she does not want to have sex. It's not going to solve the problem if you sit down and have some wine and talk about, having sex, with your husband, because she doesn't want to have sex with her husband. So this is the problem. And this is one of the problems. Well, this is a big problem that a lot of men find when they start to get into their 50s, late 40s, 50s, and the sex starts tapering off. Now imagine, you get married at a young age, you're constantly chasing as a man, chasing sex with these women who are taught by their mothers and grandmothers to basically keep the sex from you. When you finally get some sex, you get it, and then they're still feeling like, well, this is something I shouldn't have to do. On the other end, you have other women who, that we sometimes find ourselves not choosing, but they are more than willing to have the kind of sex that we want to have. But the ones that are supposed to be the prime picks, the marriage material, tend to end up giving you the equivalent to garbage sex. So they're doing it because it's something that they feel like they have to do in order to maintain their position and the quality of life that this man is providing, and to women, they see this as fair, But do you guys, I don't know, maybe it's me, but do you guys feel like this, or does it sound fair to you? Because it sounds like subterfuge to me. It sounds like faking compatibility in order for you to get all the nifty treats that a man can provide for you. You like, sitting around watching TV with him and eating with him and, occasionally talking to him. But other than that, you don't want to have sex with him, but you don't want him to have sex with anybody else either. So you take ownership of this man like he's a thing, yet you don't want to do what it takes to maintain a healthy marriage, and I'm really curious as to, whether this has always been the case, or is this a new phenomenon? If there are any older women out there that are listening, if you could chime in on this and kind of give me, an honest appraisal of this, because I don't want to hear, well, I don't know anybody like that, and I don't surround myself with women like that. This is weird and all that kind of stuff, because you heard the stats in this. According to the stats that she quoted in here, this is not unusual. But let's move on.
If he refuses to listen, tell him intimacy between you is over until he does. If he threatens divorce, let him squawk, even if he heads in that direction for a while. I doubt he's any more interested in letting go of your marriage at this point than you are. Though if he is, a few weeks of internet dating as a selfish, long-married 60-something should enlighten him about that. More likely, he'll hear you out. In fact, since he's apparently decent 99% of the time, I wonder if you haven't actually attempted to talk to him about this for a while. or in an effective way, given how loaded and miserable the issue is for you. And he can't read your mind. Once you've got his attention, tell.
Okay. Now, I mean, let's go back over that. Okay. Her descriptions of what this man is going through. I mean, it must be miserable for him to be around a woman who he is attracted to, who is everything that he wanted in a woman. So he married her. So he gave up the world in order to marry this woman. And I'm sure she acted like she liked the sex with him. And he provided all of the amenities that she needed to have a good life, a good, comfortable life. And this woman is describing his concerns about not being able to have sex as squawking, and his wife described him as a 14-year-old boy. I mean, the disdain and the disrespect that comes with, the descriptions of us as men for wanting to be intimate with these women is incredible to me. There's I guess it's been taught, so much in these schools, from when they're children all the way up to college, that, to look at us with some degree of disdain, that it's hard to hear this. I don't know if you guys get that same feeling, but it's really hard to hear a man who is giving up everything for this woman, and she's describing him like this. And the woman that she's asking advice from in a column is describing him in pretty much the same way, as if, she's telling her to basically threaten to hold out sex on him, to get what she wants. So she's, see how sex is being used as a weapon. It's like the ultimate weapon for you. Well, if you don't do this and if you don't do that, you won't get any sex, So you hear this, over and over, and then she says, well, okay, if he gets out there, if he threatens you, with divorce, I doubt if he's interested in letting go of his marriage at this point. Though if he is, a few weeks of internet dating as a selfish, long married 60-something should enlighten him about that. Okay. So she just assumes that he's going to have a hard time out there if he gets out of this relationship. And then you know what women always say: if you're an older guy and you get with a younger woman, then there's something wrong with you. You got to be some kind of a strange sex fiend or something, an R. Kelly or something. They want to call you all kinds of names, because you go for a younger woman who has a sex drive, as opposed to being with a woman who is basically has no other use for you other than to use you as a natural resource, to basically fuel her lifestyle. So let's move on. Listen to the rest of this.
You understand that he needs sex in marriage, especially monogamous marriage, and that you would like that. 2. Lie, if you must, but that your sex life isn't working for you anymore. Tell him about the physical discomfort.
Did you hear that? She is advocating for her to lie to him. Okay? Once you get his attention, tell him you understand that he needs sex in a marriage, especially a monogamous marriage. See, and the reason why she's saying especially a monogamous marriage, because she doesn't want him to go out and go start having sex with somebody else in order to supplement his marriage and keep his wife for what she's good for, which is basically all that she wants to do, which is to spend a little time with him, eat with him, and all of that. And she says, and that you would like that too. Okay. So she's telling her to say, and you would like that too, but clearly she does not. So then she says in parentheses here, lie if you must. Say that you want sex too, even if you don't want sex. But that your sex life isn't working for you anymore. Okay. So she's holding a carrot out there for him. as if there's something that he can obtain by changing his behavior in some way, or asking in a different way, or going and cutting the yard, or getting new cabinets, or something that she wants. She's going to use that as some type of bargaining chip, and she's going to hold that out there as, you one day you might get some sex, and that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like pretty much most of your life. You spend most of your life chasing behind, women, and foregoing some of the things that are really, really important to you, because you have this innate physical drive to have sex with women. And then when you're locked on to the woman that you imprint on, that you want to marry, it's even worse. And then think about all of that. You get this woman and everything's good about her, but the sex is garbage, or it's non-existent. Think about how miserable your existence will be in that situation. And that's this man's situation. And he's not the only one. I mean, I've got more stories than I can do in 3. I could probably do 2 more shows of this just to get the rest of what I have out, just so I don't stretch it out, because I know you guys, don't want to sit up and listen to an hour of me, talking about this. So I try to break it up and make it, put it into small bites. But if you want me to, go ahead and finish out what I have, which is probably enough for probably 1 more, I'll do that. Or I'll just put them into small little, 15-minute bites or something, or 30-minute bites, and go with that. But let's continue with this.
You've been having, reminding him that they're not unusual for a woman your age. Again, maybe he actually doesn't know this, consumed as he is with his own satisfaction. Reiterate that you love him and want to stay married. But you need to find other ways to satisfy his desires without you feeling trapped, uncomfortable, and unhappy. For starters, when your allotted time comes each week, he needs to ask.
Okay, what about his feelings of being trapped, uncomfortable, and unhappy? She's not concerned about him feeling like he's trapped and uncomfortable and unhappy. And for you guys out here, I want you to really, really think about, when you were in a place where you were uncomfortably horny, and there was no relief in sight, and how miserable that is, especially when you're young. When you're young and you're really, really, your hormones are really, really up there. It's unbearable almost. But I mean, you still feel that up into your older years. I mean, a 50-year-old guy, he still has desires, So imagine that. Imagine not being able to have any kind of release of that. She's walking around the house looking good, in panties and whatnot, tight jeans and, all the stuff that you like, but you can't touch her because she feels like you're pawing on her. Every time she comes around, all you want is sex. All you want is sex. And she makes it sound like it's some dirty thing, something that you shouldn't, you should control yourself. She described him, like I said, as a 14-year-old boy who basically is just out of control because all he wants to do is have sex with her. So he's super attracted to this, to his wife, which is what it's supposed to be, and she signed on for this. You know what it takes to be a wife before you sign up for it, but we saw in I don't know if you guys remember when the black husband and wife were on there, and he said that basically his wife, they were both young. And she said, if I would have known that this is what I would have had to do to be in a relationship, I don't know if I would have done this. So they have a picture in their mind about how much sex they're going to be having and what it's going to be like. But then when it comes down to it and they lock a man down and they see that it's kind of hard, to be one person and having to deal with a man that has a sex drive like that. But at the same time, they're saying, no, we're monogamous. This is what we're supposed to be. But you have all these people out here complaining about the needs of the man in a monogamous relationship. Kind of doesn't make sense, does it? Okay. So, and the guy's not watching porn. He's not doing anything but trying to basically be with his wife. And she's shunning him and blowing him off. And this lady is giving crappy advice, which is atrocious, in my opinion. I mean, there's no medical background in this at all. I mean, and she says, I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know. So she's basically just flying off the cuff, giving this lady bad advice. And it's really tragic. But let's finish this up.
Ask if you're up for sex, because a big part of your problem is you feeling forced, which turns it into something you're doing fully for him and that you hate. Why he would even want that is beyond me.
He
If you
doesn't.
say no sometimes, and you're allowed to. Guilt-free. Though ideally you'll schedule right then for another try. He needs to go in the bathroom with his laptop. Watch his favorite porn vid. If you can't find one, do some research and help him. And do it all by himself, just like a big boy. If he won't watch porn, fine, but then he needs another alternative that's not you. Does Playboy even still exist? If you're able to get yourself in the mood when date night arrives, great. And do try, once you see he's putting in effort, to. Next, tribe editor Jeannie Ralston suggests the Starz series Outlander. Specifically, Season 1, Episode 7, to get you in the mood. Though really, she says, almost any episode of this broiling hot series should do the trick. But that can't always, or maybe ever, mean penetration anymore if you don't want it to. Forgive me for getting graphic, but here are some other things you can suggest in lieu. You lie naked with him while he gets himself off. Again, he's over 60. It's high time he learns how. Or you help him, with your hands or your mouth, without him needing to be inside you, if that's what you most dislike. For more tips, go online or to a bookstore and find a manual of sex tips for couples over 60. I dig up a few for you, but I'd rather recommend some truly great reads you might not find in the self-help aisle. Mating in Captivity, by Esther Perel. I'd Rather Eat Chocolate, by Joan Sewell, or my own. The Bitch Is Back, which has several essays about sex. 2 of them specifically about sexual discrepancy, in midlife. Happy reading. And happier sex, I hope. ASAP. Yours. Answer Queen. A previous version of the story was published on March 4, 2019. More Answer Queen. Empty Nest, Empty Marriage? Our advice genius on how to reconnect. My fiancé's kids don't want us to marry. To dump or not? When a friendship is more pain than pleasure. Should I take more meds so I'm nicer to be around? Help. My husband and I are fighting over politics. Is it worth fighting with family over a bumper stick?
Okay. So, that was pretty painful to hear. Like I said, I mean, I'm very interested. Dr. T, if you listen to this, I'm very interested to hear what you think about this. There was some very crazy comments about this. Also, Dr. Neal, if you're listening, I'd love to hear what you have to think about this also. Let's see. I guess I'll do one more. And let's see. This one is where a doctor weighs in on sexless marriages and the causes and consequences. Okay, so we'll go with this one. Here we go.
Sexless marriage, causes and consequences. There are various definitions of a sexless marriage. Some experts say that it occurs when spouses have not been intimate within a 6 to 12 month period. Others say it is having sex with your partner less than 10 times a year. Whatever the definition, it is clear that sexless marriage is a problem when one or both spouses are dissatisfied with the frequency of sexual relations. This article will explore the dynamics of a sexless marriage and examine how sexless marriage can take a toll on you. How common is sexless marriage? Although there is a relative paucity of studies on the topic, a frequently quoted one is described in a 2009 article in the New York Times, titled When Sex Leaves a Marriage. The author of the story interviewed Denise A. Donnelly, who was an associate professor at Georgia State University. Her studies suggest that sexless marriage, defined as not having sex in the prior 6 months to 1 year, occurs in about 15% of married couples. What are the causes of marriages without sex? There are many reasons why marriages become sexless. Sometimes, couples had relatively little sex since the beginning of the relationship, or they got into the habit of not having regular sex. Life events. Other times, life events intervene, making it harder to find the time or the inclination to be intimate. Some examples include having a baby, constraints related to raising children, having a demanding job or incompatible work schedules, excessive stress, having a midlife crisis, or having an affair, pornography addiction. A change in physical attractiveness causes a partner to lose interest in sex. One or both partners are angry with each other and fight a lot, or they have fallen out of love with each other. Low or no sex drive. Sometimes one or both partners has a low sex drive or may even be asexual. Other times, one or both partners have negative associations with sex. They think it is somehow dirty or believe it should only be used for procreation. 1. Health issues. Health issues can also play a role by causing a loss of desire for sex, libido, or a physical inability to participate. For example, inability to get an erection, vaginal conditions that make intercourse extremely painful. Consultation with a physician in the field and/or a marriage counselor experienced in dealing with sexual issues or a certified sex therapist may help shed light on the causes. What are the consequences of a sexless marriage? So what happens?
Okay, I'm going to stop it there for a minute. Okay, and with these health issues, this is where you have to have a mature state of mind in order to be able to discuss these concepts and not, put your partner off. So how many times, have we seen, time after time where, guys are trying to have an intelligent conversation with these young ladies, and they fly off the handle, because they can't handle any sort of constructive criticism or an evaluation or an observation about something that's happening in their relationships. They tend to compare these unrealistic relationships that they watch on TV and that are put up to them in books and all other types of media, and they throw that up in your face, with everything from what you should provide to how the sex should be. Again, how many times have you had a person, and I've had conversations with women who have said that, hey, me and my man are having great sex. And the question that I ask is, did he tell you that, or did you tell him that? I know that we have great sex, but you still haven't answered the question. And I already know the answer to the question because she hasn't asked him if this is what you need. Is there an evolution to the sex that we have over time as we age? Our conversations, how we go about talking about it, engaging in it, reading about it. It's like anything else. If you want to be a good shot, you have to practice. You have to read about the weapons. You have to spend some degree of time and effort in being proficient, with that weapon, or being proficient with your mind, with your reading skills, with whatever it is that you want to be a master of. You have to put some effort into it. But I find it the case most of the time when they talk about this, they just think they come out of the box being the best that whatever man that they're dealing with has ever had, but they haven't put any effort into trying to be the best at what they do. There's no practice. There's no effort on technique or any of that. They can barely hold conversations about it. They become jealous of other people. They look at things like the article says, and they have hang-ups about it and say, well, that's nasty. What I'm giving should be enough. It's just, there's all these excuses, and, like one of my dad's friends, I consider him like a second father. He always told me that, there are times in life that you have to be meek and humble and open yourself up to different experiences, different instruction from older, wiser individuals, and get outside of yourself, and this is one of those times where I tell people, your ego can be your biggest detriment and the biggest enemy that you ever have. In every endeavor that you have, it will prevent you from having the success that you would have had if you moved towards that situation without that ego. Okay. And this is the same with this. We as black women have huge egos. Some black men do too. Some of us move in a more logical way, and we can talk about anything. We're not as jealous as other people, but then again, some of us do act like them. So let's move on.
To your marriage when you and your spouse are no longer being intimate together. Although intimacy in marriage helps to bond couples, both partners are sometimes perfectly happy that part of their relationship fades away. However, often one or both partners are unhappy with the situation. They want to rekindle the sexual relationship and enjoy the bond of physical intimacy with their partner. This can lead to a variety of emotions, including, among other things, frustration, anger, sadness and depression, embarrassment, suspicion, temptation to cheat. No matter how it manifests, a lack of intimacy can be painful and frustrating both mentally and physically. 5 ways of
Okay, so there you go. Now, when the man in the other article expressed frustration, anger, sadness, depression, embarrassment, I don't know if he did suspicion. I'm sure he had a temptation to cheat, but he was begging his wife for sex. I mean, look at all of the things that he had to deal with and how that would be destructive to his emotional sanity when dealing with these things. But as you heard, the advice giver did not have any empathy for the man's situation. All the pain, all the suffering was on the side of the woman who basically wasn't doing anything. She chose not to have sex. She wasn't having sex. He didn't force himself on her. But immediately she threw out the R word, because that's, what they teach them. Anytime you don't want to do something, it's the R word, So that's what they jump out. And that's another shaming tactic. You're not going to make me do anything I don't want to do. Okay, well, you don't have to do anything. You can get your shit and get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to be a wife, or you can stay here, we can watch TV, we can eat marshmallows, we can do all the things that you like doing. But guess what? I'm going to have me a side piece. I'm going to have me somebody on the side that I'm going to go and eat marshmallows with and watch TV with and do those things too. Because you're forcing me to have to partition myself. That's what he's thinking. Okay? I can't talk to you because you think I'm a 14-year-old boy. So I'm going to go. And how many times have you heard this? I did a show on the ladies that were involved with prostitution. And what did they say? Most of the time, these guys just want somebody to talk to more than they want to have sex with them. So these women find themselves being psychologists to these men, being willing ears. And how many times have we heard this throughout history? We hear the same things over and over and over. But these women who are these side, piece women, they are demonized, but they are the nice ones to the men. They are the more welcoming ones to the men. The men give all of these goodies to these women who check off all the boxes to be good wives, yet they want to still withhold sex. The main thing that you're giving all these goodies for is so that you can have sexual intimacy and you can actually bond and be with this woman on a level that is both physical, emotional, and spiritual. But she's still taught to withhold a part of herself. And I'm going to get into that in a couple of other stories outside of this on how women are taught by their mothers and their grandmothers to act this way. But let's move on.
Sexless marriage can affect you. Here are 5 ways a sexless marriage can affect your mental health in your relationship, along with advice on what to do when you and your spouse are no longer intimate together. 1. Temptations rise. It goes without saying that you are missing out on an important bond when you are not intimate with your partner. Your emotional and physical needs are not being met. This can cause you to question your commitment to fidelity. When your partner no longer wants to be intimate with you, it can make you feel incredibly lonely and depressed. This leaves you vulnerable to having an extramarital affair. Of course, this will complicate your marriage and likely hurt all parties involved. 2. Reduces emotional intimacy. In a sample study done by the Flourishing Families Project, 355 couples discussed the impact of emotional and sexual intimacy on relationship satisfaction. The results showed that a satisfying sex life significantly predicted heightened emotional intimacy between partners. Emotional intimacy is vital to your relationship. It bonds you as a couple and makes sex more enjoyable. It even contributes to the success of your marital friendship. It's what encourages you to be close with your spouse and share things with him. When physical intimacy is lacking, your emotional connection will suffer. 3. Destroys trust. The oxytocin released during physical moments, especially after orgasm, has been shown to increase trust between partners. This is important since trust is what helps us feel connected to our spouses. It allows us to feel comfortable and safe in our relationships. The relationship between trust and intimacy makes sense when you consider that during sex you are giving your partner the freedom and consent to explore your body and pleasure you. It is a deeply personal experience that you share with your partner. When this experience is lacking, your trust in your spouse may wane. Love our content? Sign up for our newsletter here. If your spouse has lost interest in sex, you may also start to question their loyalty to you. You may wonder if they are uninterested in maintaining a healthy sex life with you because they are pursuing their desires with someone else. Such thinking can damage a marriage. 4. It ruins your self-esteem. When you are intimate with your spouse, you feel amazing. You feel sexy and desired by your partner. This gives you a pleasant ego boost. However, when such intimacy is lacking, it may cause your self-esteem to plummet. You may start to think that you are ugly, undesirable, or that your spouse is no longer attracted to you. This can cause your mental health to suffer. Questioning your self-worth can trigger depression. Once depressed, you will begin to feel unmotivated, helpless, will lose interest in activities, may begin to dislike yourself, feel fatigued, irritable, and you may even start choosing reckless behavior. 5. It's embarrassing. You're out with your friends, and someone pulls up a "how wild is your sex life?" quiz as a silly joke. Everyone begins discussing their hottest encounters or relaying stories about sneaking in an intimate moment while the kids were out. You're just left there to dread the roundtable discussion coming your way. Not having a healthy sex life with your partner hurts. Since research proves that sex makes you feel socially included, the reality of your intimate life can be embarrassing. This is true even if nobody knows what is going on behind closed doors. You may start to wonder what is wrong with your spouse. You may start to think that your relationship is not normal, especially if your husband has lost interest in sex. What to do when you're in a sexless marriage? Being in a
You see how they switch to, if your husband is lost, they're not going with, the side who usually is the one who loses the interest in the sex, which is the woman, which the other article covered. And this article is trying to, it's going through the information, but yet still not trying to deal with the woman losing interest in sex as time moves on. But it says it earlier in the article, but then later on in the article in other sections, it tries to move away from that. And I think that gets into what, Dr. Johnson talks about the academy and how things are taught to not vilify the woman in any way, not hold the woman accountable for any actions that she may have regarding this new age that we're in, where we find that women are so distracted by the world that the world that is their relationship, their family, is boring to them. If you notice, they always have to be entertained. There's always got to be something new. There always has to be some flashy, bangy, sparkly thing, that they have to have. That's why they're constantly going out getting new bags. You got 50 bags, 500 pairs of shoes. You got a big, huge, room size closet with all kinds of stuff in there, more clothes than one person can wear, but a guy doesn't need all of that, and these things they tend to need, but at the same time, they can't walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. So you become boring while this other stuff takes up their attention. Now you fight to go out there and to work and do all that stuff, so only so you can come home to say, I'm too tired to have sex with you. I'm too tired to give you attention. I'm too tired to have any kind of intimacy with you. But I'm making this money though. I'm successful. I'm getting the bag. I'm strong and independent. I can make it if something happens to you or something falls off, that's what this is getting us in this new age. This is a part of the byproduct. Let's move on.
Happy sexless marriage can be equally, if not more frustrating than being in an unhappy relationship. If you and your spouse are wildly in love and prioritize spending time together as an important part of your relationship, why aren't you connecting on a sexual level? Whether you get along or not, it's important to get to the root of the problems in your sex life. Here are 2 simple ways you can start to take control of your marriage and your mental health. Communication is the backbone of any strong marriage. Studies show that sexual communication is positively correlated with relationship quality and satisfying sex life. Couples must learn how to talk about what is bothering them to grow and strengthen their relationship. Is the backbone of any strong marriage. Studies show that sexual communication is positively correlated with and satisfying sex life. Couples must learn how to talk about what is bothering them to grow and strengthen their relationship. Get help. Not everyone is comfortable sharing the ins and outs of their lives with a stranger, but therapy can be beneficial. Whether you're attending with your spouse or solo, a counselor can help you understand what's going on in your relationship. Related content: 6 ways to enhance female sexuality while aging. There are also online marriage courses available to teach couples how to strengthen intimacy, boost communication, and enhance empathy. Not sharing a sex life with the person you vowed to spend forever can be a sad and frustrating experience, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Communicate openly with your spouse about the problems you're having. Marital therapy, working out together, and spending quality time together can boost your physical and emotional intimacy. References: Parker Popke. When Sex Leaves the Marriage, 2009, June 3, The New York Times. https://well.blog.
Okay. Pretty good article. Had some pretty good stuff in there, but you see it swung right back around and said 6 ways to enhance the female sexuality while aging. Okay? So up higher, you act like it's just not all about the female, but then down in the bottom, you acknowledge that there is a problem with female sexuality and sexual urges waning in the later years due to menopause and other physical ailments that may arise. So I hope you guys like that. I had one more. I don't want to make this too long. Let's see how long this one is. Okay, this one's pretty short. This will be the last one, and this is the Good Men project. How women hurt themselves by withholding sex. All right, here we go.
How women hurt themselves by withholding sex. Women have a lot of reasons for withholding sex, both from themselves and the men they love. The most insidious reason has to do with culturing. It's not uncommon for women to be taught to mistrust sex and men from a very young age. My mother drilled into me that all men wanted was sex. She taught me that to desire a man or to love him was to invite trouble, because his attention would always be focused on one thing and one thing only. They were harsh words, full of pain, and they put me on the defense with men, from the age of 13. If men did indeed just want sex, I had to question their every motive, lest I be made a fool. While I was smart and sensitive and saw through my mother's advice to her own wounds, her dark warnings took their toll. Some of the joy of believing in sex and love was lost. Add to that I continued to hear the same message from hundreds of other frightened women over my lifetime, which only further nailed in the fear and mistrust. These messages about men impact women and follow them into marriages. We like to think that as soon as we tie the knot, the programming of our pasts dissolves into the belly of love, but that is rarely the truth. Married women may not fear their husbands' sexual motivations in the way they did when they were single, but they put their husbands in the wrong for wanting sex, because they've been programmed to believe men are wrong, sexually. They also make their partners jump through extraordinary hoops to prove sexual worthiness and good intentions. Don't like ads? Become a supporter and enjoy the Good Men Project ad-free. Some women have admitted to me, in a coaching relationships, that having sex with their husbands felt like being forced to turn over their power. So they resisted sex and damned the very men they loved in order to hold on to themselves. With this going on for women in the background, sex can be a battlefield in a marriage. You have the man fighting for what he feels he's earned, by surrendering his access to other women, and a woman fighting to keep the power she feels is threatened by giving her pleasure and body to a man. The shame in this is that there is tremendous power for a woman who embraces her sexual pleasure. When she practices heart-opened receiving through sex, and drops her armor, she comes to see that it's not wielding a big sword that wins a man's respect. It's opening her body and heart in the act of love. When a woman is closed down, or offering sex as a compromise, both partners are cut off from sex as a source of love. But when a woman has an openness and willingness to receive, communicates a trust, that in turn, opens her man's heart. With that flow unlocked between them, they can experience true lovemaking, rather than a battle of wills. You might be saying, but so many women don't enjoy sex or their partners are bad lovers, why should they trust men who don't satisfy them? A lot of women are stuck here. And really, it's just a way of avoiding the intimacy and the risk of an open heart. A woman who commits to receiving pleasure, and takes responsibility for her own pleasure and for her heart's opening, will find sex is a much more powerful place for her to be. Far more powerful than turning her body over for a price. What we need are women to stop teaching other women to be sexually guarded and mistrusting of the masculine. We need to stop perpetuating the message that men are all about the sex. And we need women to be self-aware and open to the power of sex, as a force of love, by way of their own choice and commitment. None of this means that women shouldn't be able to say no at any time if they don't want to proceed. Self-awareness also means understanding your own boundaries. Of course, this means women making a mind shift about sex and seeing it as a way to unlock joy and connection. Photo credit, Getty Images.
Great article. I don't even need to add anything else to that. It covered everything that I would have said anyway. It goes into how women are taught from a young age to not trust men, to not enjoy sex, to not open themselves up to sex. And they see it as a loss of power, a loss of control. So there, in that description, it tells you that women have been conditioned to basically compete. That's what that's saying in so many words, is that they are competing against men, and to give themselves over to a man in that way would be losing to them. They believe that's losing. But you guys, let me know what you thought about this. And I know this was kind of long, but I think it had to be in order for me to actually cover everything in a way that would be complete. So you guys let me know in the comments what you thought about this. Let me know if you want the shows to be shorter, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, about the way they are, depending on what the subject is. Let me know. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Hopefully by the end of this month, I'd like to hit 2,000. If you guys could help me out with that, please like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate you guys immensely. Thank you for hanging out with me. You guys have a good day.
I feel like a motherless child alone.